Good morning. So today I'm going to quickly run through how to convert this stiff nib into a super flexible nib. We start off by flattening the nib, trimming the shoulders. Then optionally you can heat color it, add designs. Then we make the arrow cutout. Then we reshape the nib. And when we reshape it, we don't return it. We change the cross-sectional geometry of the nib, so it won't be this same curvature. And then we align the tines under a microscope, weld on the overfeed, cut out the overfeed, then weld it on, and then we modify the main feed to adjust for flow with whichever ink you choose to use. So I'm going to start flattening this nib out from the back, working towards the tip, using these flat pliers. There we go. Next I'm going to trim the shoulders very slightly. The exact amount doesn't matter, but it's just got to be a bit smaller than what it originally was. This will help with softness, but you can technically get a similar amount of softness without trimming the shoulders, but it would mean keeping this part of the nib, these shoulders completely flat, and that could scrape against the inside of the cap. So this is mainly really just to stop the nib from scraping against the inside of the cap. So just roughly something like this. And then the tool I use to trim the shoulders, metal shears. So I'm going to, I won't trim it on screen because I don't want bits of metal flying all over my table, but I'll return here once I've trimmed it. Alright, so the shoulders are trimmed. Now I'm going to use 320 grit sandpaper. It doesn't have to be exactly this grit to smooth it out. So there's no serrated edges. This might take a while and it might create a bit of noise, but so I won't show the whole thing. But yeah, it is literally just doing that for the next minute or two. Here we go, the shoulders are now trimmed and sanded. Next I'm going to heat color the nib. I do this by lightly coating the nib in oil and then heating it over, well, over a flame, over my stove really. And then this is just a complete aesthetic thing. It's not going to affect the properties of the nib that much really. So I'm going to do that and I'll be back. So that's engraving done. The shape of the cutout is something like this. It doesn't have to be this exact shape. It just has to be narrow at the near the tip, quite wide near the base. This is important because we want the most flex. Well, we want most of the deformation, most of the flexing to happen right near the back. So you don't need the tines to bend that much for a lot of flex. We also want it to be narrow near the tip so that when you really do flex, the overfeed won't get stuck between the tines. So now I'm going to cut this out using the same setup as I had for the engraving. So this will be stuck onto some white tack, and then starting at the breather hole, I'll start cutting down here and then down here. You can see I've left a little triangle of material right here, right at the end. This is so I can cut it into an arrow shape. It does not serve a functional purpose, it just looks nice. You can do without the triangle if you like. Alright, the cutout is done, but you'll notice there's lots of little bits of metal sticking out from the edges. I'm going to use a toothpick to slowly push these off and clean this up. This will take a little while, maybe another 2 minutes or so. So let's skip to when that's done. Here we go. And next I'm going to shape the nib. So I'm going to start at the back. I'm going to make the angle at the back quite steep, and then at about this point here, just after this arrow shape here, the nib's going to be mostly flat. This is for softness. On shape it, I'm going to use some pliers. We'll align the tines in a moment using a microscope. And it's very important to make sure it's symmetrical. So the flatter, let's see if we can see that. The flatter this section is, the softer the nib will be. The more curved it is, the more snapback you get. Those were some photos of the aligned tines. When aligning, you have to consider rotation, you have to consider the vertical alignment, the horizontal alignment, and whether the tines are bent upwards or downwards at all. If it's bent downwards, the tines tend to close quite a lot near the tip and open up near the base, and vice versa if it's bent upwards. Next step will be smoothing out the nib using 8000 and 12000 grit micro mesh. After I'm done with this, it should be able to flex on the upstroke without digging into the page at all. Remember to smooth out the inner tines as well. So after smoothing, the nib can flex on the upstroke without digging into the page at all. The next step will be creating the overfeed. So I start off with 0.1mm 304 stainless steel. I create a triangle, like a wedge, like triangular section first. Insert it through the nib. Mark where the tip is. Let's see if I can find. Actually, I might as well draw an outline of the nib, and then use that as guidelines. Actually, I'll align it with the page first just to make sure it's all straight. Then using this as a guideline, you can draw the shape of the overfeed. Again, exact shape doesn't matter. It just has to be. It just has to come near the tip, but not too close to the tip. Maybe about here, and it has to be to. Oh, I mean, aesthetically, you want. Yeah, if you want to make it look cool or look nice, you might want it to be a bit narrower near the tip. But you could even just cut out this nib shape and that will work as an overfeed. Something like that. So I'm just going to cut that out, and then we'll test. Overfeed is done. Now I'm going to I'm going to tape this, the tip and the tip of the overfeed together for now. And now I'm going to place the overfeed onto this flat, place the nib and the overfeed onto this flattened copper coin. Bring out the spot welder. Turn it on at the lowest setting. Place one electrode there, one electrode on the coin. This is to avoid leaving marks on the nib. Take that off, and here we go. Spot welded on. Overfeed. Next step will be modifying the main feed. So I start off with a Goodwill polymer feed. I am going to shorten this, and then I'm going to deepen the channel slightly, very slightly, and then I'm going to narrow the channel near the top of, well, near the part where it meets the nib. This is to help with capillary action, and that's, oh yeah, and then I'll add a few cross cuts here, and that's it. To narrow the channel near the top, I just insert a safety pin, or you use any small cylindrical object through here, and then I get these pliers. Just press along the top. This really helps with ink flow. And then lastly, I'm going to add some cross cuts. As you can see, I've already shortened it. And I've deepened the channel. I'm going to add some cross cuts along here. This is just to help with ink distribution. So I'm going to add about 3 or 4 more. Next, we just assemble everything together to the snib unit. And I'm just going to find a pen for this snib unit. Let's see, I should have one lying around. Screw that in. Have a converter. I'm just going to grab a converter. And let's test it out with this bottle of random ink. Oh, usually it doesn't flow this well right at the start. Yeah, there we go. Could be wetter. Or maybe the the feed just needs some time to soak. I'll let the feed soak for a bit and then I'll I'll continue. So even after soaking, the ink flow was quite poor, so I flattened the top of the feed so there's better contact with the nib, and also deepened the channel a little bit more, narrowed it a bit more, deepened the crosscuts, and now the ink flow is quite good. So this is an 8mm line. Hopefully it should just, yeah. So it can flex. The ink flow will now move to 8mm. Should also be quite consistent. Very, very wet, but consistently wet. And at the moment I'll test with a proper ink. This random ink I'm using is from my infinite ink jar. Whenever I have leftover ink, oh, that's not good. That's not consistent. Maybe I was going too fast. Whenever I have a leftover ink, I chuck it into this this ink bottle and then water it down from time to time. So it still needs some work. Yeah, that's not consistent. Never mind. I'm going to continue adjusting it and then I'll return. Okay, so hopefully now it should be a lot more consistent. It was just an issue with the overfeed. It was not attached, like it wasn't flat on the nib. I also have to be careful not to write too fast, otherwise the feed will run dry. It must be out of ink. Yeah. Oh no, there's a little bit left. I think it needs more adjustment. Okay, I think the flow is adjusted properly this time. Let's do a quick test. Adjusting the flow takes longer than making like every other part combined. And now 8mm, so one line width. Oh, almost. That almost counts. It's getting up to like 7.9 and then railroading. There we go. That's 8, but you can't quite see it. So maybe let's try here. There we go. 8mm. And then back to normal flexing. Yeah, that's a pass. That's a complete. Apart from that little railroad there, I think that's a complete pass, and that's Arrowflex Nib done. Thanks for watching.